All right, we're live. Come on over here.
Hold on, I undid my belt.
Why'd you undo it?
Undid my belt to try to redo it myself.
So, hi everybody. Tony Gracia here. Mira is just off camera getting her belt finalized.
Is that right?
That looks pretty good. Let's just leave it tied for the rest of the day. So, hi. So with COVID-19 shutting down jiu-jitsu schools throughout Oregon, throughout the country, throughout the world, we wanted to bring our students and then anybody else out there some training options that might be viable for you if you're at home. We are creating a curriculum for these and planning our lessons under the assumption that in a certain household or apartment or whatever, there might be one person who trains and then other people who don't. And of course, you're fairly limited on your training partner options if you're social distancing and trying to, minimize going out of your house or your apartment. And so we wanted to create some lessons that would be appropriate for that sort of an arrangement. So in our case, I trained jiu-jitsu for about 17 years at this point, and Mira's basically not trained at all. I think she's taken one.
I've done like two classes.
Two classes. So, and that was how many years ago?
I don't remember.
Many years ago. So, if you're somebody who trains and you're trying to recruit a roommate, significant other, spouse, whatever the case may be, to try to jump in and train with you, this will totally be appropriate for that. It's not something where both people already have to know what they're doing, and we're going to just take it nice and easy and a super beginner-friendly, fundamental sort of thing. I'm wearing my gi. One, it just feels really good to have it on again. It's been a little bit longer than I would like, and but you don't need a gi for any of the stuff that we're going to be doing today. In the future, if we include some lessons that do require a gi, or gi would be helpful, you can of course just have one person have their gi on when the move's done on them, and then just trade roles later on. Take your jacket off, give it to the other person, whatever the case may be. But let's go ahead and get started. So the position I want to work today is probably the most common submission hold that people know from jiu-jitsu. You see it in all types of combat sports and sport jiu-jitsu, gi and no gi. You see it a lot in mixed martial arts. You see it in self-defense situations. And the main submission is a rear naked choke. And so we're going to look at when this might be available to us, when I might want to try to go for the move, and some key points on executing it, finishing it. And hopefully this is helpful both for people that have some training experience and also for some people that might just be starting out. So, all right, so we'll go ahead and get started. So what's going to happen is Mira's going to go ahead and sit on her butt right here, looking that way. Actually, why don't you look right at the camera? Right at the camera. Yeah. That's pretty good. Actually, just stand right up there. So, first off, make sure you teach your uke how to, butt scoot like that. So if you have a bulldog like us, they sometimes do that, so you can just watch them. Okay, so if I want to go for the rear naked choke, which is one of the most important submissions that you should have in your arsenal, the first thing I need to do is make sure that my opponent can't really turn out of the technique. I don't want them to be able to escape it. And so typically I'm going to have my legs positioned somehow where I'm locking around her waist and locking around her legs. Generally what we'll do in jiu-jitsu is we'll call these our hooks, and so you'll say you want to put your hooks in or get your hooks in or something of that nature. Typically we do not want to cross our legs like this. Let's spin right at the camera so that everybody can see. We do not want to cross our legs like this because I'm actually susceptible to her doing an ankle lock on me. So if Mira just takes one of her legs and puts it over the top of mine right now, right, and then she can cross her own legs even to reinforce it, and then she starts to push down, she'll ankle lock me. Yeah, and she'll tap me out, okay? And so I don't want to do that. So putting your hooks in is one great way to do it. Another good way to do it would be to figure four my legs around right there. And as far as controlling your opponent, that figure four is very powerful. However, if you're in a tournament and you want to score points, that doesn't score points in a lot of tournaments, so you'll want to do the hooks here. but generally you want something to help kind of control them. And so that's going to control her hips and her lower body. What I'm initially going to do is get what we call a seatbelt grip right here, where just like a seatbelt kind of goes over your shoulder on one side and then under your shoulder on the other. It should look pretty much exactly like a seatbelt in a car right there. So this is going to be the hand that I'm ultimately going to choke with. And in the meantime, this is the hand that I control with. If I were to go both underneath, I would have very good control, but I don't have any way to go for my choke. When I have both over the top, I've got a good route to get to her neck and go for my choke, but my window to do it is pretty small because she can spin and turn and try to make her escape. Okay? So having one underneath makes it much more difficult for her to spin and turn and try to get out. And then having one over the top gives me a good route to go right for the neck to get right in there for the choke. So it's sort of the battle-tested best way of going about this is to have that seatbelt control. Okay? And so when I'm controlling the position, and typically what's going to happen is she's trying to peel my hands away with her hands and stuff like that, because she doesn't want to get choked. She knows what's coming. So the things that I want to do to help control this position in the meantime are a few things. One, I want to be squeezing her back and my chest together pretty strong. She should feel a pretty strong squeeze right here. I'm not just loose and relaxed with it. So pretty strong squeeze. My legs also stay engaged. They're not just placed there. I'm very actively, kind of controlling with those and making sure that she doesn't have free movement of her hips. And then the third is that both of those are tools to accomplish what is probably ultimately the most important thing, and that's that I want her head sandwiched in between my choking arm, this one, and in between my own head. So this is where I want to be. It's like I'm just going to whisper in her ear right here. Okay? She is going to be able to get out if my head and my arm are on the same side, or my head and my choking arm are on the same side. I can't choke her, and she'll be able to get out from there. Okay? So it's really important that no matter where we go, if we roll down to like one side or we come back up and we go to the other side, wherever, it doesn't really matter. I need to keep this same orientation where I have my choking arm on one side of her head and my head right on the other side. So that's going to be the main control. Okay? So now let's look at 3 different ways that we can go into actually finishing the choke. And again, I'm assuming that you're working with somebody at home who has no experience with this. And so before we actually do a choke, we'll make sure everybody understands what tapping out is. So when Mira starts to feel the pressure of the choke, she feels, that she can't breathe and her arteries are getting restricted. She's going to tap my arm or my leg probably about 3 times. Okay? So let's just say we do one real quick, and I squeeze, just like that. Okay? So make sure we know what that is. If I'm doing today it's a choke, it could be an arm lock in a future lesson, whatever. As soon as I feel them tap, I'm going to let go right away. That's the way that we're going to, of course, avoid injuries. And especially in a cooperative setting like this, where we're just practicing cooperatively, I'm going to make sure that I apply any squeeze or any pressure pretty slowly. I don't want to just throw it on full power, especially when I have to live with this person, because that could go sour really quickly. Okay. All right. So basic rear naked choke, sort of the classic way, is my hand is going to come and snake behind her back like this, and then I'm going to make a grip of my own biceps, and my hand is going to go behind her head. I have a preference for putting the back of my hand behind her head as opposed to the front, because the front is a little easier for her to peel off, I think. If she's going to reach her hands up and try to peel it off, she can peel that off and defend the choke. I think I can get the back of the hand in there a little bit better. Okay? Now, once I've got it in position, I'm going to shoot my chin forward and cover my own arm as best I can because I don't want her to peel it out. And then I'm going to squeeze my arms, and I'm going to turn and look slightly to my right. So look slightly that way towards her. And there's the tap. Okay? So that's what I'm looking to do right there. I'll show one more time, and then we'll trade, and we'll have Mira go. So I'm here like this. Note my hand is already on this side. I'm not holding it on this side. I want to hold it over on this side if I can. Okay? And I'm going to escape this hand right behind her, and I'm going to try to make the shortest line possible. Here's a big mistake people make. They come way out and they try to rear naked choke. But yeah, she's going to grab it, right? Even if she doesn't have a lot of training. So what I want to do is I want to make this move right behind her back, come up and shoot in there. I'm going to keep my chin on my arm as best as I can so she can't peel it off, and then I'm going to squeeze and get the tap out. Okay, so now Mira will get to go ahead and do it to me. So she's going to start by putting her hooks in. All right, she's going to get her seat belt. Yes, just like this, and her hands are connected. And her hands are connected, perfect. And she's doing it great. See how she's holding like this? This is her choking hand, her right arm. What she's doing is she's covering her choking hand so I can't peel it off. The only one I can peel off is her other hand, which makes her choking hand free to go right for my neck when she gets it. Okay? And then she's going to go ahead and figure four her arms, put her hand behind my head, and she'll squeeze. Just like that. We'll do one more time. All right, so seat belt. Okay? And then because I'm taller than Mira, she's going to let go just a little to let me slide down. That way she can make an easier grip of my neck here. Okay? All right, so she's got the seatbelt grip. Whenever she's ready, her left hand releases and goes behind my back. And then she makes the figure four grip. Good. Right behind my head, and she squeezes. And we get the tap. So, very good. Okay? So that's our basic, that's our basic rear naked choke. Okay? So now we're going to show maybe from a sideways view a modification of this one. So I'll have Mira face at about a 45 degree right here. Okay. Let's, we'll start this way. So this is sort of a modification of it. So one thing that happens is as I start to make this arm try to come around, she's just is grabbing it, is interfering with it. It's really hard for me to get this up here, okay? Especially with the gi, she can grab my sleeve and things like that. So that's one reason I might do this next version. Another reason, is that sometimes getting this arm, my choking arm, all the way around is very difficult. So in a textbook rear naked choke, sort of the point of my elbow should be right in front of her neck, right centered on her neck. And that can be pretty difficult to do sometimes. It's hard to get it that far across because she's holding my wrist and she's making it difficult to get, okay? So between one of those two or a combination of the two, we're gonna do a version that I call a short choke. I've heard other people call it different things, but it's gonna be the same choke pretty much. We're just gonna modify our grip a little bit, okay? So instead of coming all the way over where I'm way back here, let's say my hand is more straight in front of her, right? It's kind of right in line with her collarbones right here. Okay? So I'm here, and I start to go for the rear naked choke, and maybe she starts pulling on my wrist or something, right? Something like that. So what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to make my hands grasp together. My choking arm is going to go palm down, so my thumb points at myself. My other hand is going to go palm up, and I'm going to make sort of a gable grip here. And what I'm going to do is use the elbow here, which is now down. It's not up high like the old choke. It's down low. I'm going to drive my elbow kind of into her back to lever the choke. So see how my elbow's right there, and then I squeeze, and I get the choke. She might feel that this one's a little bit more right across the front of the neck, which it is, but that's her own fault. If she let me get the rear naked choke that I wanted, then she wouldn't be having this problem. Okay? So one more time. So I'm here, and I'm going to snake out, and instead of coming high, I'm just going to walk palm to palm, and I'm going to try to drive my elbow into her back as I squeeze for the choke right there. Okay, we'll have Mira give it a try on me. All right, so she's going to go ahead and start with the seatbelt grip again. Okay, and I'm like, trying to defend or whatever. So she's going to unlock her hands, and then she's going to make her palm-to-palm grip like this, and she's going to drive her left elbow into my back as she squeezes. This one sucks. Right across the windpipe there. All right, so one more time. So she's got her hooks in, right? She's controlling. She releases her seatbelt and comes back from behind, makes a grip. She probably held that a little long after I tapped on that one, but that's what you get for doing it with your wife, I guess. So, all right, so we've got our basic rear naked choke, and then we have our short choke, the one that we just did. So let's look at one last one to finish up. So Mira and I will go back. Again, so I'm on the offensive position, right? And we're going to do this 45. Okay, So this one is going back to a version of the rear naked choke, and this is actually the one that when I'm sparring with other trained and highly skilled training partners, opponents, like what have you. This is usually a version I end up getting a little bit more because people are really good about defending at least one of your hands. Every choke that we've done so far, or both of the chokes that we've done so far, we've needed both of our hands in order to do it. And so this one is going to be one where I can, one way or another, finish my offense with only needing one hand to do the choke. Okay, so we'll actually maybe square up to the camera first. So this version will be, very collaborative at this point, but just to kind of prove a point with it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my choking hand and I'm going to come all the way back around here. So if Mira had a sports jersey that had her name on the back of her jersey, I'm trying to grab that name on the back of her jersey with like a little hook shape with my hand. Okay? So I'm trying to come all the way over her shoulder, and I'm trying to grab that sports jersey, okay, or the name on the sports jersey. Then I'm going to try to put my chin forward and pin my wrist with my chin, and then I'm going to squeeze with one hand, and I'm going to try to pull this elbow behind us, and I get the choke. Okay, so that's a good way to get sort of one-handed choke here. Okay? So as far as how something like this might actually look in a match, typically in a match, we're not just going to stay sitting on our butts here. We're almost always on one side or the other. Okay? We're almost always on one side or the other. So one thing that will often happen is we'll come to a side, right? And usually when I'm on the side, I like to put my feet up onto the top hip. That way I can be a little bit more mobile with my legs. And Mira might be still trying to fight off with her hands or something like that, right? So what I can do is I can try to push one of her hands down like this, and then I can cover it with my leg. So it's a little bit hard for her to get it back out of it. And now I start to go for the choke, and her other hand starts to defend, right? And so I can just use my other hand to keep her hand out of the way, and then I do my choke. So I'm going to do everything the same. And now she has a little bit of a harder time tapping. That's the idea. Okay. And you can do that pretty much either side. So I focus my right on that one. We'll go ahead and go to our left. So if I know I'm going to go to my left, I'm going to put my feet up onto that top hip first, right? So I want to control that top position, and I keep my head very close to her. Okay. Now, as we're here, she's probably defending. I want to beat her to get my hands in position. Okay. So I want to beat her to that. So I'm controlling her hands, and I can just use my leg to get one of her hands out of the way, and then trade what hand is controlling her other one, and then my hand that's ready for the choke is ready to come right in, get my squeeze, and get my tap out right there. Okay. So this one's a little trickier. I'll have Mira walk through it on the same side that I just did. Okay. So she's going to get her hooks in. She's going to get her seatbelt. Okay? And we're going to fall to our lefts right here. Okay? So what she's going to try to do, so her hand is going to try to control my wrist. Her right hand controls my left wrist, and then vice versa. Right? Her bottom hand, yep, just something just like that. Okay? Now what she's going to try to do is she's going to take her her foot, and grab my elbow with her foot. Yep, and try to pin this so my arm is trapped. It can't get away. Okay? And then she's going to see how her right hand has my left. She's going to pass it over to the other one, and now I can't defend my neck. And she gives a good squeeze, and I tap out, and she wins the match. And bragging rights, and I guess I have to do the dishes at home tonight now. Good thing I already did them this morning before. So that's sort of our lesson for the day. If you're, again, training with somebody who's never done jiu-jitsu, hopefully this is a good starting point. One thing that I don't know that I made clear at the beginning is this position where I'm behind my partner is by far the most dominant position in jiu-jitsu, right? Generally, jiu-jitsu is sort of a battle of starting a match in a position where it's neutral. Both people have a 50-50 chance at the beginning. And then you want to progress to a position where you have by far an upper hand compared to your opponent, and then you finish the match with a submission hold. And so, the idea of starting the match and getting to this position from the back, that's a whole nother conversation, right? That's much easier said than done, but that's where you want to try to get to, is try to get behind somebody. And then the rear naked choke and the short choke, and then the one-handed rear naked choke, the three things that we did today. Those are the three kind of main choke options that you would probably learn as somebody that wants to be diverse with this. You don't require the gi for it. There's other chokes that do require the gi, but there are three excellent ones, very high percentage and very low risk. Typically, it's not very common that things go catastrophically wrong for me when I'm on the back because I'm in pretty much the best position. So, Mira, thank you for joining in. We're going to try to keep having these come at you a few times a week. And if you have any comments, just leave them in the comment section below. And feel free to go ahead and subscribe to the channel for more updates on videos. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.